Hey everyone, it's Bobby with HomeSwiper, and today I'm with Earl Proeger with Angel Oak Home Loans, and we're going to be discussing buying a home in 2021. We don't have to talk about how hot the market is. Everybody knows that.
Crazy times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, how often are you seeing, your buyers' offers get accepted? Because I know a lot of people, it's competitive out there right now.
Sure. So in previous years, prior to COVID, and prior to this expansion in Austin, most people were going up against a few other buyers. These days, it's kind of become a joke to hear about how many other people were bidding on the house. I remember last year, somebody told me about a house that had 90 plus offers on it. So that's been our problem. That's starting to change. So a lot of my buyers are either buying in, the perimeter of Austin rather than in the heart, or they're buying in other communities like, Killeen or Cedar Park or San Marcos, where things aren't as crazy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool deal. Another question I get asked a lot by people is they think you have to have 20% down to buy a house, and that's kind of their barrier of what's preventing them from moving forward. Is that true? Is that the case?
No, it's not true, but there's a reason why people think that. So first of all, if you're buying an investment property, totally true. So that's a rock solid truth that you gotta have 20% down to buy a single family residence. Actually, you have to have 25% down to buy a condo or a multifamily unit like a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex. So I think that gets in the head. The other thing that really locks us down is if you put 20% down on a conventional loan, you don't have to pay private mortgage insurance. So people have been drilled on how important it is to go at least 20% down to get rid of the PMI that you're stuck with otherwise. But the truth is there are wonderful programs. And if you're a first-time home buyer, you can put as little as 3% down on a conventional loan. And the other loans, FHA is only 3.5% down. Mm-hmm. USDA is 0% down, it's a 100% loan, and so is a VA loan. So really you're looking at 0, 0, 3.5. But then if you're looking at your standard conventional loans, which most people do in Austin because of the pricing and all that here, mm-hmm. If you have not owned a property in the last 3 years, you're a first-time home buyer. So once 3 years have passed since your last ownership, you're reset back to first-time home buyer. And you can put as little as 3% down. Now, if you don't make too much money, Fannie and Freddie have special programs called Home Ready and Home Possible, which not only let you put 3% down, but also they'll underwrite some of the cost of the rate and the PMI. So you'll also get a little better rate and a little lower PMI. But once you make too much money, you don't get that benefit. But you can still only put 3% down.
Gotcha. I didn't know that about the first-time home buyer resetting every 3 years. That's good to know.
Well, people are like, no, I used to own a home. I'm like, well, how long ago? You're a first-time home buyer again. So it is a strange thought.
Yeah. Now, what about self-employed people? Because usually when you talk to a lot of lenders, they require, pay stubs from your employer and
Sure.
And the whole, just about everything. What are the options for a self-employed individual?
So self-employed people have a unique problem. And Austin's a very interesting market because we have such a large number of people who qualify as self-employed people. So that could mean you're a 1099 worker. You get, you have clients and you get a 1099 at the end of the year from each of those clients. It could also mean you've started your own business, an S Corp, an LLC, or just a sole proprietorship. But in all those cases, we have two opposing goals, right? The first goal is, don't look like I make any money because the IRS is going to tax me on it. So it comes tax time on your Schedule C or your S Corp tax return, man, you're deducting everything, God and country, because you want to look like you're as poor as possible. So at the end of that return, you're not paying a lot of taxes. Now the problem is, then you go to your mortgage lender, you come to me, and I'm looking at your tax return and it looks like you're poor, but you make a ton of money and you want to buy a house. And I'm like, well, according to the way Fannie and Freddie calculate your income, which is complicated, we won't get into that, you just don't make enough money to qualify. So that's a problem. So the good news is Angel Oak not only does all the normal loans that we're talking about, but we're also the country's premier non-QM lender. And non-QM stands for non-qualifying mortgages. So these are mortgages that are outside the box. They don't fit Fannie and Freddie, they don't work. So the only way we can get a self-employed person who's turned down by Fannie and Freddie based on their income is we have to evaluate them differently. So what we look at now is instead, we look at bank statements to calculate their income and apply an expense ratio, or we look at the 1099s they get from their clients. So these are the ways we can increase the income and take advantage of the fact that they're really just trying to deduct, and we can look at actual cash flow. So we look at them a different way and come up with a different number. And so with our portfolio loans, in particular our bank statement loan and our 1099 loan, we can get these self-employed buyers across the finish line.
Awesome. Wait, good.
Yeah.
All good stuff to know.
Yeah.
What would you say is the next step or the first step for someone to start the home buying process?
Well, it's a great opportunity to tell you about our technology. So we use a really cool technology for taking in an application. Anybody who's applied for a mortgage knows it's kind of stressful because there's just so much in there.
Yeah.
With our application, you can be done in 10 minutes. Now, if you go to my website, I've got a cool little vanity URL, so you don't have to type in the whole thing. It's earleclose.com, like early close, but with an E in the middle. So EARLECLOSE.com. When you go there, there's going to be a place to click to apply, and it's going to take you to this technology. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your tablet, you can do it on your computer. But here's what's cool. We're looking at 4 things. I'll give you a quick little primer on getting a mortgage, okay? There's 4 things we look at. One is your credit scores. The other are your liabilities, which are those minimum payments on your credit report.
Mm-hmm.
The third is going to be your income. That's probably the most complicated thing to work through because people are paid so many different ways. And then lastly, your assets. So what do you have to bring to the table? Do you have the cash to close the deal, cover the closing costs, etc.? So the neat thing about our application is as you go through it, it pulls your credit, it checks your employer against the work number, which is an online service. Many of the employers out there use it. So immediately we've already got verification of your income. We don't need pay stubs. We don't need all that other stuff. And you can even log into all of your accounts, whether they're asset accounts like stocks, bonds, etc., or they're just checking and savings, and it will actually verify your accounts and put them in the file. So by the time you're done, we've got everything we need and you're pre-approved to go shopping or to go ahead and move forward with a refinance or whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, and I can testify to that. I've used it. It works great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today. If anybody wants to apply for a mortgage to begin that step of buying a home, please visit Earl's website down below. And if you have any other questions about buying a home or any other real estate related questions in general, again, I'm Bobby with HomeSwiper. Thanks for watching and have a great day.